Good morning and welcome. This is day 4 of our Easter reflections, and as we've seen these last 3 days, God has had an eternal rescue plan for the world. We've seen God's creation of a beautiful, perfect world destroyed by Adam and Eve's desire to live independently from God, and then the start of the rescue through Abraham and the creation of the nation of Israel. Today we're going to reflect on how God blessed that nation and how the nation responded to being God's people. The reading today we're going to hear is about the time Joshua led the people into the lovely promised land and how he guided and provided for them in that land.
Joshua 1 verses 1 to 9. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the river Jordan into the land I'm about to give them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you'll be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
So the nation's journey to this point had been rather a tortuous one. In the beginning, the nation grew through Abraham's offspring, but then when famine hit the land, they had to escape to Egypt, where through a remarkable set of circumstances, Jacob and his sons met up with Joseph, their estranged brother, who was by then ruler of Egypt. So he gave them refuge in Egypt, which resulted in the Israelites growing as a people and becoming very influential. Sadly, this led to 400 years of slavery as Pharaoh wanted to subjugate them, causing untold misery. But God eventually raised up Moses, who, after those 10 fearful plagues, was able to lead the people out of Egypt onto the blessings awaiting them in the promised land. The books of Exodus and Leviticus chart their troubled journey of 40 years of desert wanderings as they failed to enter the land early on due to the fear and failure, and again they were not able to trust God. So in those 40 years we see much of God's blessing, his miraculous provision, the receiving of the 10 commandments and the laws that God gave to govern the nation and to bless it. But still people wanted to go their own way and they wanted to rebel against God. As in our reading today, ultimately, God leads them to Canaan, and under the godly leadership of Joshua, after God's affirmation of him and God's directives, the Israelites enter in and take possession of the land. Each tribe gets their apportioned territory, and thus the Israelites begin their lives as a settled nation. So God fulfilled his promise to give them the land. He gave them victory in the land over those who came against them. He blessed them in so many ways. But still they continued to go against him and even go after other gods. What does this tell us? It tells us that even in spite of God's blessing, protection, and his provision, we can still reject him. We often want his blessings, but we don't want the responsibilities of living with him. We want the best of both worlds, God's blessings and the right to do our own thing. But as we shall see, this approach led to the downfall of Israel as the nation splits into two and each was carried off. The northern tribes scattered into Assyria, never to return. The two southern tribes of Judah carried off into exile in Babylon, and then many laters making their return. A tragic story, and yet more rescue was going to be needed to restore Judah back to Canaan. This is the story of messing up, going wrong, needing to be rescued, a merciful God stepping in and restoring people, waiting for them to turn back to him, and then often finding the same mess recurring later. Clearly a more radical rescue plan was going to be needed, and Easter would be the solution. But that would be another 1400 years later, much more water to go under the bridge before then. So today's song, we're going to listen to Joshua Aaron's song based on Psalm 68. During the day, maybe you could reflect on your life, all the times where God has rescued you, brought you out of a dark place into blessing. And tonight's song to end the day is that song written by Moses' brother Aaron, known as the Aaronic blessing, that brings us peace.
To him who rides upon the heavens, ancient heavens, blessed be our God. Behold, he's sending out his mighty voice, blessed be our God. Hey. In your holy place, blessed be our God. The God of Israel gives power and strength, gives us power and strength, blessed be our God. Hashem.